everybody, and welcome back to the United Stand. Happy Friday. On today's show, Amorim demands a striker in January. Doesn't want to wait till summer. Manchester United don't want to wait till summer. Of course, there are little funds available, but what can Manchester United do? Their priority in the January transfer window is a striker. Is that the right priority for Manchester United to have? Some news coming in about Victor Osimhen, a potential break clause in his Galatasaray contract, meaning Manchester United could be very inclined to go for Victor Osimhen. Is he the right guy to go for? Is he that striker that is going to be able to come in and score the goals for Manchester United and get the goals that Manchester United need? Is he going to be better than a Højlund or a Xerxes? Let me know in the comments. Also, Garnacho coming under a lot of criticism by the United fan base. Is it fair? What's the future of Garnacho? Should he be a starter? Should he be a bench player? How do you see his future? We're going to talk about that and some news coming out around the team before the Nottingham Forest game on Saturday. Get your comments in. Saturday is tomorrow. The games are coming thick and fast at this moment in time. We're getting into the Christmas period now. You've got a game around every corner. Is Amorim going to rotate again? His press conference is coming up this afternoon. That's going to be very interesting. But look, everybody, happy Friday. I hope you've had an amazing week. I hope you're looking forward to the weekend. Get all your comments in down below. Let's start a debate. Let's spark a debate, I should say. Let's have a debate, and let's get into the chat and get into the news. Going to start off a poll. I'm going to get into the striker stuff first because there is a little bit on Gyökeres as well. Going to start the poll off first. Should Garnacho be a starter or a bench player for Manchester United? So I'm just going to let that poll run as we get into the first bit of news about the striker, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about Garnacho in a second. But should Garnacho be a bench player or a starter at this moment in time for Manchester United? Get your votes in on the poll. But starting off, so it is coming out from the Mirror that Manchester United have made signing a striker their top priority in the January transfer window. Now, I know Goldbridge spoke on a show, I think it was last week, because I saw it and I was like, don't know if I agree with that. For everyone who says, Beth always says the same thing as Goldbridge. No, I don't. And if you watch my shows, you know some things we agree on, some things we disagree on. I disagreed on that. I do think Manchester United need to spend money in January. I think there's two areas where Manchester United need to spend money. I think there's more than two areas we need to spend money in on the summer. I think there's a lot of places we need to spend money in the summer. I think the squad needs a bit of a clear out, to be honest with you. I know we say that every year, but in the summer, I really do think Ineos have got to get their ducks in a row and start selling players and getting players in, because we have multiple areas where we need improvements. But in January, where you're just trying to buy players to get by, it's not like you do your proper business, you do your big business in summer. I do get that. But January is for stuff you just can't wait for. And there's two areas I don't think we can wait around on. One predominantly, but you could argue two. The first one is I've said it on every show. I said it in the summer. Whoever signed off we weren't going to go for a left back or a left wing back. In the summer, it was obviously a left back in the system Ten Hag was playing. I thought that was absolutely criminal. I thought that was a sackable offence, not getting a left back in the summer. I said it. I said it at the end of the transfer window. I said it during the transfer window. I said it when we were rating the transfer window. Not getting a left back is going to cost us. Anybody could see that. How nobody at Manchester United put that as an absolute priority, and how we allowed ourselves to go into this season without getting a left back after all the worries and turbulence we had with our left back last season, I thought was absolutely ridiculous. So just incompetent. So I still think we need a left back / left wing back / left winger to play on that left side under Amorim as a left wing back. I think it's absolutely crucial, and Amorim needs that as well. We can't go all season playing Dalot there. I know Mazraoui could play there, but again, probably better on the right hand side. I think he's doing fantastically well at right side, his centre back, left side, his centre back as well. He did well at against Arsenal. We need a proper left wing back. We spoke about Alphonso Davies on the show last night, but I do think we also need a striker. And I know a lot of people say Højlund's good enough. You know, Xerxes scored them goals against Everton. What about maybe playing Rashford there? I think there'll be probably few of you saying that, but Højlund could eventually be good enough, and I think he shows a lot of promise. I don't know about Joshua Xerxes. I'm still not 100% convinced. I think there is potential there. But we need a certified striker. We need a certified player that is going to come in and be able to lead that line, hold up the play, score goals, be a target man. You know, be that Gyökeres type player under Ruben Amorim. Is it as crucial we go for a striker in January as we do in the summer? I don't know. I think maybe you could wait till the summer and play Højlund and Xerxes there for now. It just depends on what Manchester United's ambitions are for the season. But if Manchester United are going to get serious, I do think we need that experienced striker. And I know people will disagree, because I seen Goldbridge having a pop at Alan Shearer for saying that Manchester United need to invest in a striker if they're going to compete at the top level. And, you know, I know that Goldbridge massively backs Rasmus. I back Rasmus. I think he's got so much potential. I think he's got so much ability. But it can't all be on him. And I don't think he is elite level right now. I think he's learning on the job. I think he is learning on the job. I think it's a lot of pressure for him to wear the number 9 shirt. I think we need somebody for him to work alongside. And I don't think that player is Xerxes. I think he's another player that is working on the job. And he's a different type of player to Rasmus. They are different. And Amorim's even said Xerxes is more of a false 9. They use him in different ways. Xerxes worked against Everton. Rasmus worked against Bodo Glimt. I actually think Rasmus worked against Arsenal. I just don't think he had much opportunity, to be honest, in terms of chances. We barely got across into the box. It was a really tough shift, that, for Rasmus. But we need that top level player to come in and help these two strikers in Rasmus and Xerxes, in my opinion, whether we go for that in January or whether we wait till the summer. But there's no doubt about it, Amorim wants a striker. We're already looking into getting Gyökeres and holding talks with his agent, with a lot of clubs circling that one. Manchester City and Arsenal, 2 big Premier League clubs that are also looking at Gyökeres. Amorim said he won't go for him in January. It's not going to happen. But he kind of kept it very open regarding the summer. Gyökeres is going to leave Sporting Lisbon for around 60 to 70 million euros, gentleman's agreement. Manchester United are fully into that. So don't be fooled. Manchester United want to go for a striker. Amorim wants to go for a striker. But what is coming out now is that they might not be able to wait till summer, and they might explore options to bring a striker in January. Now, it depends. I don't want to go for like a Wout Weghorst type stopgap striker, which we've done in the past, a Garlo stopgap striker. I don't want to do that. I think that would be pointless. If we're going to do a deal, make sure it's the right one and make sure it's worth it. Don't just panic buy. But this story that's coming out is very, very interesting. As you will see, Victor Osimhen is on the thumbnail. Get in the comments down below, would you go for Victor Osimhen if there's a chance Manchester United could get him? Because I know there was a point in time where the big debate was, is it Osimhen or Kane? And then Osimhen and Napoli, the relationship started to break down, and somehow he's ended up at Galatasaray. But this is the news that is coming out. And it's coming from the MEN that there's a potential break clause in Osimhen's contract at Galatasaray. Osimhen is one of the only few players who could be a realistic move in the upcoming January transfer window. The Napoli striker is currently on loan at Galatasaray, but it is believed that before he moved to Turkey, he agreed a break clause, which meant that if one of 10 clubs approached Napoli with a permanent offer for him, he would be allowed to cut short his Galatasaray spell to pursue a deal elsewhere. Osimhen has scored 9 goals in 12 appearances so far this season and could be in well demand during the winter for clubs that need a striker. Victor Osimhen, yes or no? Get in the comments down below. Would you go for him? It would have to be a permanent move. It couldn't be a loan. That's the only way you'd be able to break his contract with Napoli. But 10 clubs have the option with Victor Osimhen. If they come in with a permanent offer to Napoli, this is the money that we want to pay for Victor Osimhen. Osimhen can break his clause with Galatasaray and move to one of them 10 clubs. And it is highly suggested that Manchester United is one of them 10 clubs that Victor Osimhen could break the clause and go to. So it would have to be a permanent offer. How much do you actually think Napoli would want for Victor Osimhen, considering their relationship has broken down and there's no way back from it, Napoli? I don't think it's going to be the 100 million that they were demanding previously for him. It will still be expensive. I don't think it will be 100 million. I don't think it will be that. Will they want to bide their time and wait till the summer, and they might think they can get a higher bid for him? Or if Manchester United came in with, you know, an offer that was decent, they might think, you know what, we might as well take that because we're not going to be able to play him. That relationship's broken down. Who knows if we'll be able to get this money again? Do we just take that now and sell Victor Osimhen? So it depends on Napoli's stance on the matter. But there's no doubt about it. Victor Osimhen is a very talented player. The reason he's at Galatasaray isn't because he's not a good player. It's just because the relationship is broken down at Napoli. But he's doing well at Galatasaray. He's contributing. He is a certified goal scorer. And he's only 25 still. Like, can you believe he's only 25? He's about to go into his prime. And what he was doing at Napoli when he was on his top form, top level, and they were competing in the Champions League, it was fantastic. He was scoring some fantastic goals. He was getting himself into some brilliant positions. He is what you call an out-and-out number 9. He is someone who's got experience. He's someone who's going to come into the team and he will score you goals. So get in the comments down below whether you would want him. There's a slight concern about injuries. I know he's had a couple of injuries in his career, but I don't think he's what you would call injury prone. I think it's something that you could definitely overlook. But get in the comments down below your thoughts on that and start voting in the poll as well. Already some super chats coming in on this Friday morning. Welcome everybody. We start off with Robert McCormack saying, Mark won't accept that Rasmus doesn't move well enough yet. Everyone is obviously entitled to their opinions. And the thing is, what frustrates me sometimes is it feels like you're not allowed to give a player criticism without people being like, oh, so you don't think he's good enough? Oh, so you've written him off? No, like, I love Rasmus. I want him to stay at Manchester United. I think he's got great potential. But I don't think he's a top-level striker yet. I don't. And I think Manchester United need a top-level striker. I think he does need to work on his movement. I still think he needs to work on his hold-up play. Even Ruben Amorim said he needs to work on his hold-up play. I think he's very clinical. And that's one thing you can't really teach, to be honest with you. I know they say you can, but I don't think you can really teach that ice-cold striker's finish, clinical. And Rasmus has that. He finds the back of the net. When he does get that opportunity, when he does get that chance, he scores goals. He's clinical. So that is fantastic, because that's something that you would be worried about. Whereas Xerxes, I'm not as convinced is that clinical striker. I don't think he is. But Rasmus is clinical. He finds the back of the net. But it's other areas of his game he needs to work on, his hold-up play, decision-making, getting himself in the right position. But all of that can be worked on. All of that can be worked on. Look at where Ollie Watkins was when Unai Emery came in. I thought Ollie Watkins was a good striker. I didn't think he was a brilliant striker. Unai Emery came in, he worked with him. Ollie Watkins was still, I think, pretty young at the time. Worked with him, showed him videos of Cavani, worked on his movement, worked on his positioning, and Ollie Watkins transformed himself. I think Rasmus Højlund at 21 years old, has got so many levels to go up. But right now, you need the full package, and we don't have the full package striker as of now. That doesn't mean he can't be it in the future, and I think he has the potential to be that for Manchester United. And I still think he can play games. I think he can start games. Of course I do. But I've not got that much faith in Joshua Xerxes as of now, and I do think you need that top level player. Caleb Calamity says, on a positive note, our back line and right side are dead solid now. With service, our strikers will score too. It's the left side, left wing back is priority. And I agree with that. You know, we do need to provide more service. We do need to get more crosses into the box. Ahmad provides that. I mean, Everton. Look at Everton. Okay, Rashford's the set piece with Bruno to outside of the box, and Rashford's strike was good, and that got the ball rolling. But the 2 goals after that, or the 3 goals after that, all involved Ahmad and his pressing and his movement and his ability to look up and get across into the box. Ahmad is so crucial to our creativity now. And that right-hand side, like you said, it is looking solid. Our defence, I spoke about it on the show last night, our defence is good. It's very good. Our defence, I think, is capable of competing at the top level. And I mean, like, genuinely at the top level, like competing in that top 4 and potentially even for a title if you get that left wing-back area sorted. I do think our defence is strong. Maybe title is pushing it, but around, competing in and around that top end of the table, it's the midfield and the attack that needs some serious work. So yeah, there is positives to take. Vinny Red 1 says, should get Osimhen in a heartbeat, no hesitation. Karen Mater says, a member for 25 months, says, hi Beth, a minimum of $100 million for Osimhen, considering how stubborn Napoli can be. I actually don't think it would be that much for him. I do think it would be expensive, but I don't think it would be 100 million anymore. Michael Doherty says, Osimhen's pace, power and clinical finishing make him the perfect striker to boost Manchester United's attack. Tony Shannon, a member for 17 months, says, hi Beth, I think will benefit from another striker. I think you need to address Mark's point about the lack of service for our strikers. And Ray S says, I want Ollie Watkins. Ollie Watkins will definitely not happen, but he is a good player. Yeah, we do have lack of striker. Not a striker, we do have lack of striker. We do have a lack of service, and that still does need to be addressed, and it's getting better under Amorim, but it still needs to go up. But two things can coexist at the same time, and I think this is what people fail to grasp. There always has to be an explanation, there always has to be a pinpoint of why this is not happening. Two things can coexist. Manchester United strikers can need more service, and Manchester United can also need top level strikers and more experienced strikers and better strikers in front of goal to lead that line. Them two things can coexist. You know, we could need more service for our strikers, which I think we do, but also Højlund and Xerxes, you know, need time to improve, need time to level up, need that coaching under Amorim to get to that top level. I have a lot more faith in Rasmus as of now than I do Xerxes, but them two things can coexist together, and I think people always want to put it on one exact reason, one exact explanation, but I think both of them two things can coexist. Morgan TMDK says Osimhen wants 400k a week, injury prone and terrible attitude, it isn't worth it. I don't think he has a terrible attitude, I think he just believes in his own ability, which I actually think is important for a striker to sometimes to believe in their own hype and have that slight bit of arrogance. Don't know about the wage situation. And I don't think he is injury prone. He has had injuries though, so that is something to watch. But I don't think he is injury prone. What would be interesting, it's annoying that you can't run more than one poll at the same time because I have the Garnacho poll running. But I'd love to know whether you guys would prefer, would you prefer Osimhen or Gyökeres? If you had the choice now of both them two players, which one would you prefer? Maybe I do run that poll and I just take note of what you guys said on the Garnacho poll. So if we end the Garnacho poll now, we will speak about that in a second. End the Garnacho poll. It is 59. Okay, I'll take note of that. Let me just write this down. And then we've got 40%, say, started. Oh, it's very close. Let's start a poll on if right now you could pick one to bring to Manchester United. You know, you just had you were sat in the boardroom with Sir Jim, and he said, "Look, we're bringing in one striker no matter what. Who do you want? Do you want Osimhen on? Do you want Gyökeres?" Vote in the poll which one you would go for. Bobby Ukaigui says Osimhen's break clause is 75 million euros. I looked at that and I couldn't find that anywhere. So let me have a look. The only thing I can find on Osimhen when I was looking it up was Osimhen's loan deal with Galatasaray includes a break clause that allows him to leave the club in January if big European clubs come in for him. The break clause can only be triggered by 10 clubs that Osimhen named in his contract. Some of the rumoured on the list include to be Arsenal, Chelsea, Manchester United, Liverpool, Real Madrid and Paris Saint-Germain. It's added that his release clause has been... Okay, yeah, I've seen this. Okay, I've got it up. Better researcher than me. It's been added that his release clause has been lowered from 108 million pounds down to 62.5 million since his loan move to Galatasaray, and the Turkish club do not have the option to make the deal permanent. That's interesting. I didn't see this before. Thank you. This is why the community is so good, because you make the shows better and you give me this information while we're live. So, update on the Osimhen news. It is added that Osimhen's release clause has been lowered from £108 million down to £62.5 million since his loan move to Galatasaray. That does make things spicier. That makes things a little bit more interesting because we know that Gyökeres has a gentleman's agreement with Sporting Lisbon, 60 to 70 million euro. That's what the deal's going to be. He's going to leave Sporting Lisbon in the summer. Clubs are interested. Clubs are going to come in for him. And it's probably going to be around a 60 to 70 million move for him. And I would actually say that is probably going to end up being pounds, even though it is euros at the moment. I think Sporting will end up getting a good deal for Gyökeres. So if you can get Osimhen and Gyökeres for similar prices, who do you go for? And there's a chance you could actually get Osimhen in January as well. Whereas with Gyökeres, you'd have to wait until the summer, but you could actually get Osimhen in the January for 62.5 million. in the summer, you're looking at around the similar price for Gyökeres. Do you wait and go for Gyökeres? Because Manchester United will buy a striker. I'm absolutely convinced of it. Will buy a striker. Do you wait and go for Gyökeres in the summer? And it's not even guaranteed you'll get him, because City are in for him. Arsenal will be in for him. There's clubs all around Europe watching Gyökeres right now. He's absolutely killing it. Although Sporting Lisbon have actually gone on the massive decline since Ruben Amorim has left. I think that just shows how much of a good coach Ruben Amorim actually is, by the way. I'll talk about that in a second. But what do you go for? Because this is my way of thinking right now. I'm like, if you would have asked me, you know, when Osimhen was absolutely killing it for Napoli, I would have said Osimhen every day of the week. I wanted Osimhen at Manchester United. I think he's got pace. I think he's got power. I think he's got aerial ability. I think he's fantastic in the box, which is what Manchester United need. They need a striker that's good in the box. But on the flip side of it, Gyökeres also, you know, runs the channels really well, has good pace, has good power, is strong, has good build-up play. But he knows Ruben Amorim and he knows his system inside out. Gyökeres has been playing obviously in the Portuguese Premier League. Osimhen's played in Serie A. Serie A, you would say, is more competitive. But there's no doubt Gyökeres is a very, very good striker. You look at the age profiles of both of them. Osimhen is 25, Gyökeres is 26. Very similar in age as well, both going into their prime and have the experience to go and lead that line for Manchester United. So who do you think has a better chance of succeeding? Who would you go for? That's the question I pose to you guys. And I'm trying to work it out myself, and I'll let you know my answer in a second. I want to see what you guys say in the poll first. Pick one to bring to Manchester United right now, Gyökeres or Osimhen. Get voting in the poll. I don't want to reveal who I would pick, so I want to see what you guys would say first, and I don't want to influence anything. But it did surprise me when all of the top clubs just let Osimhen go to Galatasaray, because he is a certified goal scorer. And it does make me question, is there something in it about his attitude? Is there something that top clubs didn't like? Was it the wages? I don't know, but it felt like he was always destined to go to a top club. I know Chelsea were very, very close to sign him in the summer. Very close, but they chose not to. They kept that belief and that faith in Nicholas Jackson. It has paid off for them. I'm just going to quickly search up what his wages are right now, because that is something that you would want to see. So, Victor Osimhen weekly wage. Oh, he's on around, okay, that's it. He's on £113,000 a week. So that is easy for Manchester United to go in and offer him a contract. He's on £113,000 a week at Napoli and same at Galatasaray. So if Manchester United did want to go for Osimhen, they put in that £62.5 million bid, what his release clause has been lowered to, which, by the way, for a striker of his quality is actually quite a good deal. If you manage to get Gyökeres in the summer for that price, it's also a very good deal. I mean, we paid 70 plus million for Rasmus Højlund, didn't we? I know he's potential, I know he's young, but strikers are expensive. Strikers are very expensive, so that would be a good deal. It wouldn't be like you have to give him a massive contract. He'd want a bigger contract, and Manchester United would improve his contract, but it wouldn't be like you have to go and give him 300, 400 grand a week. That wouldn't be the case. He's on 115 grand right now. You could offer him 150 grand a week contract easily. Manchester United, knowing them, would probably go towards more of the 200 grand a week mark, but you wouldn't have to break the bank on the contract. So that is something interesting to put out there. And someone just said in the chat, to be fair, you've put in the poll, pick one to bring to Manchester United right now, not about January. Would it change your decision knowing you could get Osimhen earlier in January? Would that sway you? I don't know. The poll, it's been said, bring to one Man United right now. Producers put that in there. Get voting in the poll. But would it sway you on your choice if you knew you could actually get Osimhen in January and you wouldn't have to wait till the summer? Let me see what you guys are saying, though. I'm going to click the button here. Okay, so 65% of you have said Gyökeres and 35% of you have said Osimhen. Let me know in the chat, is that swayed by the fact Ruben Amorim has worked with Gyökeres before and you know 100%, you know, he knows how to get the best out of him, he knows his game, and it's because of the connection with Ruben Amorim? Or is it because you think Gyökeres is genuinely a better striker than Osimhen and a better fit for Manchester United? Let me know that in the comments as well. And while we're on that, I'll get a couple more of your super chats in. Niki says, has Osimhen played for Napoli this season? If he has, he can't play for a third in a season. FIFA rules. No, I don't think he has. I don't think he has. I think he went to Galatasaray in the summer transfer window, I'm pretty sure. But if anyone can actually find that out for me, that'd be great. Vinny Red One says, think about it. If we scored more goals with think about it. We've scored more goals with Joshua Zirkzee than with Rasmus. We play a different style, free the attackers, create more chances. With Rasmus, we're limited. So have Manchester United scored more goals with Joshua Zirkzee in the team than Rasmus so far this season? That's interesting. We've not scored enough goals. But anyway, let me know actually, because that'd be interesting. QT77, Beth is right as usual. Well, I don't like saying it myself. Left wing back, not a striker, is needed. Marlow, both are needed, but left wing back's the biggest priority. Marlow FC says, I don't believe the striker rumours for a second. No one that's been watching United the last weeks can believe that the striker is the biggest issue. It's an issue. It's an issue. It's not the biggest issue, but it is still an issue. I know our strikers have been scoring goals, so that sounds a bit mad to say, but we do need a striker. It's not the biggest issue, though. It's not the biggest issue. Let me see what you guys are saying in here. So you had... Okay, so this is very good news to bring in. Thank you, producer, for letting me know. Osimhen joined Galatasaray on deadline day, but he wasn't in the squad for Napoli's first 3 games of the season, so he hasn't played a minute for Napoli so far. So he could move in January to Manchester United if they did pay the money for him and offer the money of his break clause, 62.5 million. They could pay that money and get Osimhen in, and he could play for Manchester United under the rules because he did not play for Napoli this season. Thank you for clarifying that. Thank you for that, and thank you for your super chat as well. It was information that we did need to clarify. A lot of people saying the reasoning that they've gone for Gyökeres is because Osimhen may cause trouble. Gyökeres has the relationship with Amorim already. Bruno said number 10s are the issue. Frank W says, we have clear attacking problems. It's an issue. We found it against big teams because our strikers don't have experience. Osimhen over Gyökeres, AIS says, because he has delivered in different leagues and different managers. Seems Gyökeres has worked only under Amorim yet. I mean, he did do fantastically well at Coventry, but the Championship is obviously not. He's not one of the top 5 leagues in Europe. But Gyökeres is definitely a good enough striker to come into Manchester United. I think both, honestly, would be excellent options. If I had to pick one, I would go with Gyökeres. And the reason I would is because it's not recency bias. It's not recency bias. It might be a little bit. But the reason is because he's worked with Amorim. He knows Amorim's system. And Amorim absolutely loves him and knows how to work with him, knows how to get the best out of him. It's a seamless transition. You know there's not going to be any problems with the coach. You know there's not going to be any attitude problems. You know 100% he's a good personality to have because Amorim's worked with him. He knows his personality. He knows his mentality. That is huge, I think, in football. Mentality and attitude is huge. And I'm not saying Osimhen doesn't have a good attitude or a good mentality, but he has had some problems in the past at Napoli. And Amorim knows 100% Gyökeres' attitude and knows his personality, and he knows how to get the best out of him. He knows his weaknesses. He knows his strengths. It's a seamless transition. That's why I would pick Gyökeres. But having said that, if Osimhen was on the table and Manchester United decided to do that deal in January, I would not have a problem with it. I would not be mad at it. If anything, I would actually say, fair play, that shows a great amount of ambition. You've realised we do need a more experienced striker, and you've took that opportunity in the market. And Ineos have always said this, it's about taking the opportunities. Osimhen in January is an opportunity. If Amorim okays it, and if Ineos does the research into it, does the background work, and thinks it can work, I would I would not be upset with that. I would not be mad at that. I'd welcome it, because I do think Victor Osimhen is a very good striker. And I do think he would work in this team, and I think he would work in the Premier League. The only thing that I would have slight doubts about is, one, injuries, and two, maybe the attitude side of things. But I actually think Osimhen has a point to prove, and he will have that point to prove. I think he thought himself, and everyone thought he was destined to go to a big club. He will be disappointed at 25 years old that he's playing at Galatasaray. He will be disappointed. He'll feel like he'll have a point to prove. So if we did get Osimhen, I think he would have that bit between his teeth to go on and do the business. I don't think it was an attitude problem at Napoli. I'm trying to recall what actually happened, because I remember I was following it at the time. I think it was just a clash of different personalities, and there was some disagreements behind the scenes. And I don't think, if I remember it, I don't think Napoli actually treated him in the best way, from what I remember it. But with Osimhen, there's just a little bit more doubt than what there would be with Gyökeres. But I would welcome both with open arms at this current time that Manchester United are in, and I think both would be improvements on what we currently have. So I've not just said Gyökeres because you guys did. I've genuinely not. I'm just doing it because I know Amorim knows him, and it'd be a more seamless transition. The only thing is, Osimhen has done it in multiple leagues, and he has done it in Serie A, which is more competitive. But I still think Gyökeres is a fantastic striker. I'm just looking at Sporting Lisbon's form, by the way, since Ruben Amorim has left. It's actually mental to think that the switch up in their form. I mean, there was a reason we went and got Ruben Amorim, because obviously he did fantastically well at Sporting, but Sporting were absolutely flying under Ruben Amorim, winning every single game, unbeaten in I don't know how many games it was, but unbeaten in a long time. And then obviously Ruben Amorim's last game was against Braga. He won 4-2. Then they went on in the fourth round of their cup and they won 6-0, and that was without Ruben Amorim. But since then, Arsenal beat them 5-1. Santa Clara beat them 1-0, and then they just got beat at the weekend again 2-1. They have fallen off a cliff since Ruben Amorim has left them. So that might be something to take note of in terms of with Gyökeres coming in. Like, he obviously does click really, really well with Ruben Amorim, and that's a big connection that they have. Will the Premier League be too big of a step up for Gyökeres? I don't think it will. I think he would come in and thrive. I'm going to be honest. I think if Arsenal get him, he'll thrive there. I think if United get him, if we provide the service, he'll score goals. But yeah, interesting to see your thoughts on Osimhen and Gyökeres. Supersonic says, at Beth, have we forgotten we have Obi Martin? We do have Obi Martin, but he again is potential for the future. It's not a now solution. Manchester United need a now solution. They need a ready-made number 9 that's going to smash it now. But he's one for the future for sure. You have Keel Robinson saying, I mentioned Osimhen 3 weeks ago. He creates his own goals as well as playing in the system. He faced prejudice abuse at Napoli. What actually happened in the Napoli? I do remember Napoli actually did treat him quite badly from what I remember. So I take back what I say about attitude. I know he's always performed for Nigeria, and he does have that winning mentality. Frank W says, new system takes time to adapt, and we have somebody in the chat saying, if Osimhen is an option, we should try and get him. He's a world-class striker on the level we want to be. United need players of that calibre to step up. I do still believe he is a top-level striker, and I think if that's an option, Manchester United should explore it. But anyway, as you guys discuss Victor Osimhen, I think it's exciting that this could be an option on the table for Manchester United in January if Amorim really is serious about bringing a striker in, which is reported that he is. I know he's backed his strikers publicly, and I'm sure he will do it again. He'll back his players publicly. I'm sure he'll get asked about in the press conference. But it is very well known behind the scenes that Amorim does want to bring in a striker to Manchester United. But let's move on to my next little bit of news that I wanted to bring into the chat. And it is on Alejandro Garnacho. Now, Alejandro Garnacho scored quite a few goals for Manchester United so far this season. Young player at the club. I think he's still 19 years old, or maybe he's turned 20 now. Still a very young player at Manchester United. Faced a lot of criticism in recent weeks. Yeah, he's 20 years old. Faced a lot of criticism. Do you think that criticism is justified? And what are your thoughts on Alejandro Garnacho's future at Manchester United? Because there'll be people saying, you know, I think he might still be Manchester United's top scorer. He's definitely up there. He's scored quite a few goals so far for Manchester United. But then there'll be other people saying, but he's scored them against, you know, Barnsley and you know, other teams that maybe aren't, you know, at the top level, but he's still scored goals. And I think in the Premier League, he's also Manchester United's top goal scorer, so that like discounts Barnsley from that. So Alejandro Garnacho, thoughts on him? And I put a poll in at the start of the show, and it was, do you think Alejandro Garnacho is a bench player or a starter? It's on screen right now. 59% of you said bench and 40% of you said start. So a 60-40 ratio in the chat on the poll at the start of the show on whether Alejandro Garnacho should be a starter for Manchester United or should he be a bench player. I wanted to run this poll because he has been facing a lot of criticism. I think certain criticism is deserved. I think certain criticism is over the top. We have to remember about Alejandro Garnacho that he is only 20 years old. He is learning. He was overplayed by Erik ten Hag last season, and he is nowhere near the end product yet. But as I've said multiple times, Manchester United need now. They need elite level players now. And it's hard because we don't have many elite level players in the team, and especially in the front line. Alejandro Garnacho, you know, got thrust into Manchester United. He scored goals. He's turned up in big games. Won the FA Cup for Manchester United. Let's not forget about that. You know, he's scored in the Community Shield when he came on. I know Manchester United ended up losing that game on penalties, but he has turned up in big moments for Manchester United. But he has been criticised for his overall gameplay. And what I don't want to happen to Garnacho is I don't want him to turn into a player that is known for the moments and not an overall good 90 minutes, because we need players that turn up and play for 90 minutes. His decision making needs to improve. His strength on the ball needs to improve. There's multiple areas of his game that needs to improve. But I would say the same for Alejandro Garnacho that I would say for Rasmus Højlund. I think there's a lot of potential there, and I think he absolutely does have a future at the top level if he does the right things. But at this current moment in time, I think he is a bench player for Manchester United. And I think he's a bench player that's been starting a lot of games. And that's why there's criticism come onto him. I also think he needs to learn from his mistakes. I think he gets shoved off the ball too easily in our defensive third. And it has cost us goals. And it has cost us games this season. It cost us at West Ham. It cost us at Arsenal. He's done it multiple times. Ricky has pointed it out to me, and now I see it a lot. His decision making needs to be better. He's one of the most frustrating players to watch because he'll have the ball and he gets into these positions and you can sort of predict what's going to happen. You know, if Alejandro Garnacho has the ball on a one-on-one and he's through on goal, you somehow think he's going to mess it up because the decision-making isn't always the best from him, and it is frustrating. He's become a very frustrating player to watch. I know Mark has got rinsed in the week because a clip of him has gone viral of him saying Real Madrid's going to be a problem for Alejandro Garnacho in the future. And I think, you know, people taking the mick out of that. At this moment in time, you know, that clip was from February, I think it was. At this moment in time, yeah, that does look silly. But Alejandro Garnacho, you know, look at him where he was in the Golden Boy rankings. Look at what he's done since he came through at Manchester United. Manchester United don't have, you know, the best team, and he has managed to perform in it. He has managed to score goals. He has managed to make the difference. I do think there's a lot of potential there. I don't think, you know, when people say, oh, you know, he'd be playing at Granada if it wasn't for Erik ten Hag, I don't believe that. I think there is a future for him in this Manchester United team, I really do. But I also think he needs to change the way he plays a little bit, adapt a little bit, and work on adding that maturity into his game, work on his decision making, work on his strength. There's areas he needs to improve, and whilst he's doing that, I personally agree with you guys. I do think he is a bench player at this current moment in time. I think there's way too much pressure on his shoulders, and I don't think he can deliver to that pressure right now. I mean, you've seen when obviously there was that incident when he was signing pictures and getting pictures, and he was getting basically, harassed. I didn't agree with that. I thought it was so out of order to do that before a game, and to do that to a player when he's actually taking time out of his day to go and take pictures with the fans and sign autographs. And what really frustrated me is, one, you're getting into a player's head before a game, but two, it's going to put him off in future of coming over and giving autographs and taking pictures with fans. And a lot of them are kids that stand there and wait for the players. It really did it really rubbed me up the wrong way, and I understand why people took that to heart. And you see how much it affected him. Like, it did affect him, and he didn't celebrate when he scored that brilliant goal. But that shows where Garnacho's at, because players should not be allowing that to get in their heads. I know he's young, and Bruno Fernandes showed some great captaincy and leadership to put an arm on the shoulder and tell him don't let that affect you. But if you're playing for Manchester United at the top level, you need to have that block it out mentality, and I think our players do need to be a bit tougher in them circumstances in terms of focus on yourself, focus on your game. But with Garnacho, one thing I will say, to add I'm trying to kind of create this debate, to add the positivity and to back him, is that how many times a game or how many times a month or whatever are you watching Alejandro Garnacho and you're like, oh my gosh, should have done better there, should have got that on target there, should have made that decision there. Like, when you are watching Garnacho, he's frustrating to watch, because you are watching, you're like, oh my gosh. Like, I've watched some games in recent times where he could have had a hat-trick. He could have scored 4 goals. He could have had 5 assists. Like, one thing I will say is, even though the final decision hasn't been there, it takes skill to get yourself in that to get yourself in that position multiple times in a game. He has got a knack for finding himself in the right place at the right time, and that is an excellent attribute to have. If Garnacho could sort out his decision making, you could have a very elite level player on your hands. But he's young, and I'm not comparing him to Ronaldo, because I know that's his idol, and he's nowhere near where Ronaldo was, nowhere near. But you remember how frustrating Ronaldo was. Not doing that final pass, not making the right decision. Luckily, Ronaldo had leaders, and I mean leaders, in that team, like the Roy Keanes, the Gary Nevilles. Like, he had leaders in that team to tell him to sort himself out. And they were not, arm around the shoulder. You've seen that clip of Roy Keane, calling Ronaldo all them names in the game when he didn't, get his shot off right. He absolutely annihilated him, and he would probably do that game upon game. It was a lot harder times back then, but sometimes you need that little bit of harshness. It makes you tougher, it makes you a better player. And I think Garnacho needs that. Obviously, some players need an arm around the shoulder. Bruno, when Garnacho was feeling down after that criticism, gave him the arm around the shoulder. I think that was a good captaincy. But you'll also need people to tell him, Garnacho, you need to do this, you need to do that. Alejandro, this is what you need to be doing. And you need to be harsh with him, because he's got that potential. He's finding himself in these positions. He's finding himself with the ability with the option and with the chance to, score multiple goals in games and be in these positions to create chances for Manchester United. But it's just that final decision that is letting him down. But to get into them situations and to getting them chances within the game and find yourself in them positions, that does take skill, and that shows, he is doing the right things. It's just that final decision that is frustrating, and I think that will come in time. I think that will come with maturity. I've seen some people saying he needs a loan. I don't think he needs a loan. I just think he needs less game time than what he was getting under Ten Hag. I think he needs to fight for his position. I think he needs sometimes to watch from the bench. And I think Garnacho, at his current moment in time, with his current ability, is a player you bring off the bench for the last half hour. I think he can start games, but I think predominantly he is a bench player. But the reason he probably isn't on the bench as much as maybe he should be for his for where he's at right now is because Manchester United don't have that many options in terms of players that are starters. You know, Rashford's not exactly impressing massively at the moment. You know, not everyone's been 100% happy with, you know, Bruno Fernandes. I think Bruno Fernandes is absolutely a starter. Mason Mount's been injured a lot of the time. So Garnacho's had to start a lot of games because we don't really have any other option, to be honest with you. But in this Ruben Amorim system where you are playing 2 10s in behind and you've got a striker and there is more people fighting for that spot, I do think he should have a little bit less game time and work his way up to being a starter again, just based on how he's been playing, because it has been frustrating and he has been making certain mistakes that have been costing us, and that Arsenal one was another example of it. Anyway, get your comments in. We have Marlow FC saying, what are Garnacho's qualities? He isn't consistently a good finisher. He can't pass, cross or dribble, and he's not especially fast. He fits counter-attack better, just like Rashford. I think he does have qualities. I really do. I think he finds himself in the right place at the right time in a lot of circumstances. I think he's dangerous. I think he can change a game on a dime. I do think he has qualities. Absolutely. I think that's unfair to say he doesn't have qualities. I just don't think he is good enough to be playing games for 90 minutes week in, week out for Manchester United right now. I don't think his decision making is good enough. Keel Robinson says, until now, he has not had anyone to develop him. Exactly, and that's hopefully what Ruben Amorim is going to do. I think he was just overplayed too early. Mark Cooper says, Garnacho's work ethic is second to none. If everyone worked like that, we would improve massively. Yeah, I have no issue with his work rate. I think his work rate is very high. I think he needs a bit more strength, but I think his work rate is absolutely there. I mean, you've seen in that FA Cup game against Liverpool when Ahmad scored that winner to make it 4-3, and just, you know, the roof at Old Trafford just flew off. It was an incredible moment. Garnacho literally collapsed on the floor. He gave absolutely everything that game. Most players did, to be fair, but he always gives everything. That's something you can't fault him for. Mark Cooper, thank you for your super chat. B2, a member for 39 months. Amorim buying a striker is like Ten Hag buying Onana and Mount. Solskjaer buying Sancho, completely unnecessary. I mean, you're allowed your opinion, B2, but I completely disagree with you. Simon says, if Garnacho is a bench player who will start, Rashford is truly not good enough. Well, this is what I mean. This is what I was trying to say. Even though Garnacho should be a bench player and should be being, you know, managed, because I do think he has that ability to be a top player in the future. But if Garnacho was to be a bench player, which I think at this current moment in time he is, you'd have to have better players ahead of him starting games. And that's where Manchester United have fallen short in recent years. And this is what I've been trying to say. You know, he's had to start games because we don't have any, you know, we don't have enough elite level experienced starters in our team. We don't. That's why he's had to play all them games. It's why Kobbie Mainoo had to play all them games. And don't get me wrong, I think Kobbie Mainoo is a starter. But he was overplayed as well because of the limited quality within our squad. Manchester United, in the transfer window, what they need to do is they need to go and buy players that can start now. We need to go and buy number 10s that can start now and a top level now. So it allows the players like Garnacho, it allows the players like Højlund to work themselves up to it and improve at the young age that they are. Like, that's why I think we need a striker, because I think Rasmus needs time to, you know, come off the bench and express himself. And, you know, I still think they will start games. Ruben Amorim does like to rotate, but we need experience and players at the elite level to start now. And that's why Garnacho's probably had to play more games than he should have, because we've not, you know, the experienced players haven't been living up to what we expect from them. Like, Rashford hasn't been delivering. If Rashford had been delivering the way that he should be doing for his wage and his age, Garnacho wouldn't have had to play as many games as what he has been doing. One thing I will say on Garnacho is, and the Rashford situation, is only one of them can play in a team at a time, in my opinion. I don't think Rashford's a striker. Only one of them can play in that role in behind the striker, which they have been doing predominantly under Ruben Amorim. Who do you prefer, Rashford or Garnacho? Let's run a poll on that. Who would you rather stay at Manchester United, Garnacho or Rashford? Because I do think Ruben Amorim wants to go and buy number 10s in the transfer window. He wants to go and buy number 10s. It's been very widely reported. I think one of Garnacho or Rashford would have to part with Manchester United eventually. I don't think two of them can stay, considering game time and considering, you know, we're probably going to bring in players that are going to be starting. If we do go for them number 10s, which Ruben Amorim wants to, who would you rather stay at Manchester United? Who would you rather start games, Alejandro Garnacho or Marcus Rashford? I think currently Rashford's probably more of a starter, but for the future, I think Garnacho is the better option. I would pick Garnacho. I would pick Garnacho to stay in Manchester United over Rashford. That's my opinion. I think there's more of a future in it. I think his ceiling is higher, and I like his work ethic. So get that vote in the poll. I love the interaction. Who would you rather keep at United, Garnacho or Rashford? Let's get the comments in. Vinny Red One says, you say Garnacho can be a top player. Exactly what level? Well, he's only 20 years old. He's not a top player now. And I do think he's been overhyped by the fan base. I really do. But I think based on what he's produced so far in his career, you know, he's scored that FA Cup winning goal for Manchester United. He's produced in big games. He's made impacts off the bench. I do think he's shown signs that in the future he could be a top player. He gets himself into some seriously good positions. Like, if he could actually make better decisions, his goal record this season could be up there. But he's not making the right decisions. So I think if he sorts that out, I do think he could be a top player eventually, but not right in this moment in time. Let me actually just look who is Manchester United's top scorer in the Premier League, because I don't know if it is Garnacho as of now. Manchester United statistics. Let me get it up. In the 24-25 season, who's our top scorer? Why is it not saying? Does anyone know our top scorer? I think it is Garnacho, but let me know. Who would you rather keep at Manchester United? Wow. 93% of you say Garnacho over Rashford to 7%. That is an absolute landslide. Oh, it is Rashford now that is the top scorer in the Premier League for Manchester United. Wow, I didn't expect that. It was Garnacho, but now it is Rashford. So Garnacho has 3 goals, Xerxes has 3 goals, and Rashford has 4 goals. I mean, they're not absolutely massive tallies. How mad is it that Xerxes has more goals in the Premier League than Rashford, by the way? Is it because Xerxes... No, not Rashford, sorry, Højlund. How mad is it that Xerxes has more goals in the Premier League than Højlund? I mean, it's only 3 goals. It's not groundbreaking stuff. I mean, when you look at what... you know, Mohamed Salah's doing for Liverpool and, you know, some other top scorers in the league, like, it's really not groundbreaking. But for the amount of stick Xerxes gets, he's got more goals than Højlund in the Premier League so far this season. But that's just based on games played. He was lucky enough to play with Ahmad in that Everton game and get 2 goals then. But it is interesting, like, this time last year, just so you know, Højlund didn't even have a Premier League goal this time last season. Xerxes got 3. And a lot of people go in on Xerxes. So, you know, I know it's not all about stats. I do think Rasmus showed you a bit more potential in terms of the way he was playing. And when he'd performed in the Champions League, hadn't he, for Manchester United. But they are things to think about. Jack Dickerson says, I'm sorry, I just don't get this Garnacho slander. Would rather him start than Rashford. It's not slander. This is what annoys me. When you comment on a player, it's not slander, it's criticism. Garnacho has been making some poor decisions. He hasn't been playing well enough. He has gave the ball away too much in our defensive third, which allows teams to counter-attack us. Arsenal scored off it at the weekend. West Ham scored off it in that game. And we've had he's cost us a lot in terms of conceding goals this season, Garnacho. And his decision-making in front of goal has not been good enough at all. But he has also scored some good goals and created some good chances for us. He's a player that frustrates you because you can see the ability, you can see what he could be doing if he was making the right decisions. So what I'm saying with Garnacho is he's still young and he's still got a lot to learn. a lot to learn. He's not the finished article yet, but people are treating him like he is because he's starting a lot of games, and that's where the mass amounts of criticism's coming from. But the reason he's starting a lot of games is because we haven't got any elite level players to start ahead of him. Rashford's not performing as well as we'd like him to. And other players, Mount's been injured a lot. You've not got anyone who to come in and take the burden off Garnacho. That's been the problem. But realistically, at Manchester United, at the top level, currently, if we're aiming to be that top team, Garnacho shouldn't be starting. He should be coming off the bench. And I think he'd be one of the best, most impactful super subs because we know how good he's been from that position before, and he's got that attitude to come off the bench and prove himself. He won't want to be a super sub, but he does that. Not everyone's taken on that attitude so far this season and made that impact off the bench that he's done in the past. But look, thank you everyone for getting your chats in. Tyrone says spot on, Beth. Really appreciate that. Over 1,000 votes, and again, it's a landslide to Alejandro Garnacho. 93% say keep Garnacho and 7% say keep Rashford. And can I just say, I think that's damning for Marcus Rashford. If I'm Marcus Rashford and I'm looking at that poll, I'm like, that is a reflection on what I've been producing. I'm the highest paid player at the club. I've been at the club for multiple years. I wear the number 10 on my back. And, people would rather keep Garnacho over me. It's like asking Liverpool fans, would you rather keep Mo Salah or Harvey Elliott, who's coming up through the youth, who's came through the youth? Every single Liverpool fan, I'm pretty sure, would say Mohamed Salah. Rashford is on that sort of wage for Manchester United. Garnacho's obviously on a much smaller wage, but he's a talent that's come up through our academy. But I would personally pick Garnacho as well, but we would all rather pick Garnacho because you can see the ceiling and Rashford's not been performing as an elite level player should be. So, yeah. Anyway, look, thank you everyone for tuning in. Appreciate that. Did I have anything else that I needed to say to you guys? Oh yeah, I've seen this before, and actually, I won't bring that in. It's been an hour now. I'll love you and leave you, and I'll save it for the next show. Look, guys, Amorim will be doing his press conference at 1:30. We'll be live straight after to react for it. Really, really interested to see what Amorim has to say. Towards the end of Erik ten Hag, honestly, I used to dread press conferences because they'd just be the same thing over and over again, and you didn't feel like you were getting the whole and honest truth. In terms of dread press conferences, obviously I'd always appreciated going to them, and they're always fantastic to go to, and you never take that opportunity for granted, but you just knew what was going to be said. Whereas with Amorim, I look forward to watching him because he's honest, he's open, he has that honest discussion with the fans, he says it how it is. I can't wait to see what he comes out with. He name drops players at times as well. Excited to see what he has to say before the Nottingham Forest game tomorrow at Old Trafford. Look, everyone, thank you for tuning in the morning show. Appreciate all the super chats. I appreciate you getting all your thoughts in, not holding back on your opinions, getting involved in the polls. As Kev would say, finger the like button. Please make sure you hit a like on the video before you go. Have a lovely Friday, everyone. Hope you've got a great Friday planned ahead of you. I appreciate you all, and I will see you on the next one.